More often, it's because speaking up would force her to face the one thing she's trying to avoid, vulnerability. Reaching out would mean admitting she misses you, that she may have misjudged the situation, or that she risks hearing a response she's not ready for. Silence becomes her emotional armor. For many women, the idea of being rejected after opening up feels worse than the pain of staying quiet. Silence protects the ego. As long as she doesn't reach out, she can preserve the belief that she still has control, that the door might still be open, and that she hasn't fully exposed her feelings. It's a way of staying emotionally safe while still holding on to hope. This internal struggle creates tension. On one side, there's desire, memories, emotional attachment, the comfort she felt with you. On the other side, there's fear of rejection, fear of losing dignity, fear of discovering that you've moved on. Silence sits in the middle, giving her a temporary sense of balance. She may replay past conversations in her mind, wondering what she should have said differently. She may check your social presence, looking for signs that you still care. All of this happens quietly. Silence doesn't mean inaction, it means observation from a distance. What keeps her from reaching out isn't pride alone, it's uncertainty. She doesn't know where she stands with you, and instead of risking a direct answer, she chooses the comfort of ambiguity. As long as she stays silent, the outcome remains unknown, and unknown feels safer than rejection. This is why pressure rarely works. If you push, chase, or demand clarity, it confirms her fear. It forces her to defend herself emotionally rather than open up. Silence, on the other hand, doesn't threaten her ego. It allows her to approach when she feels ready, if she ever does. Understanding this keeps you from personalizing her silence. It's not a judgment of your worth, it's a reflection of her emotional state. When you stay grounded and don't react impulsively, you give the situation space to resolve naturally. If she truly wants you back, her need for emotional safety will eventually be outweighed by her desire to reconnect. When that happens, she'll reach out on her own terms. And if she doesn't, silence still protects you from chasing someone who isn't ready to meet you halfway. When she stays quiet, even though she wants you back, her silence is often a silent question directed at you. She's watching, not in a manipulative way, but in a subconscious one. She's observing to see whether you'll step forward, chase, or try to rescue the connection. Your response, or lack of one, tells her exactly how emotionally centered you are. Many women have learned through past experiences that men often reveal their true emotional position when distance appears. If you chase, explain, or repeatedly reach out, it confirms that you're still emotionally available on demand. That reassurance may feel comforting in the moment, but it often reduces attraction over time because it removes uncertainty and challenge. Her silence creates a pause, and in that pause, she's paying attention to how you handle it. Do you respect the space? Do you stay calm, or do you panic and try to restore closeness at any cost? She may not consciously label this as a test, but emotionally, she's gauging safety, strength, and stability. If you rush in, you signal that your emotional balance depends on her response. That can make her feel powerful, but not secure. Attraction doesn't grow from emotional dependence, it grows from emotional confidence. When you remain composed, you quietly communicate that you value connection, but you don't need it to feel whole. Silence also gives her room to feel desire without pressure. When you don't chase, she has space to miss you. When you don't reassure her, she has space to wonder. Wonder leads to reflection. Reflection leads to emotional clarity. This is why your restraint matters. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about allowing her to see you as someone who doesn't abandon his self respect in moments of uncertainty. That observation can shift how she feels far more than any message you could send. At the same time, her silence reveals her own emotional maturity. If she truly wants to reconnect, there will come a point where curiosity, longing, or emotional honesty outweighs fear. And when that happens, she'll reach out. If she doesn't, her silence also gives you an answer. You learn whether she was hoping for validation or genuinely open to rebuilding something real. Either way, your calm response keeps you aligned with your values. You're not proving anything, you're not chasing outcomes, you're allowing truth to surface naturally. And when truth surfaces without pressure, it's always worth more than reassurance forced by fear. When she stays quiet, even though she wants you back, it's often because she's stuck in an internal emotional conflict. Part of her wants the comfort, connection, and familiarity you provided. Another part of her is afraid of losing control, repeating old patterns, or facing emotions she hasn't fully processed yet. That inner tug of war keeps her frozen. Desire pulls her toward you, but fear pulls her away. Reaching out would mean admitting that the separation didn't give her what she hoped it would. It would mean confronting unresolved feelings and possibly reopening wounds she thought she had closed. Silence becomes the safest place to sit while those opposing emotions fight for dominance. This conflict is exhausting for her. She may think about you often, replay moments, and imagine conversations she never sends, but taking action feels risky. If she reaches out and you don't respond the way she hopes, The disappointment feels heavier than simply staying quiet and wondering what if. Silence allows her to delay a decision. As long as she doesn't act, she doesn't have to choose between vulnerability and pride. She can keep both feelings alive without committing to either. That's why her behavior can feel confusing. Emotionally, she's connected, but behaviorally, she's distant. Understanding this prevents you from misreading her silence as indifference. It's not that she doesn't care, it's that she doesn't yet know which feeling will win, and no amount of pressure from you can resolve that conflict for her. When you stay grounded and don't chase, you don't add fuel to her confusion, you don't push her into a defensive state. Instead, you give her the space to resolve that inner battle on her own terms. Space allows emotions to settle. Pressure intensifies resistance. Over time, one of two things happens. Either desire becomes stronger than fear and she reaches out, or fear wins and she stays silent. Both outcomes give you clarity, and clarity is better than prolonged uncertainty. What matters most is that you don't get pulled into her internal struggle. It's not your job to convince her, it's your job to maintain your self respect and emotional stability. When you do that, you stay aligned with your worth, regardless of her decision. And that alignment is what ultimately determines the quality of any connection you allow back into your life. When she stays quiet, even though she wants you back, she's often doing something most people don't talk about. She's grieving the connection in silence. Distance forces reflection, and reflection brings emotions to the surface. Silence becomes a space where she processes what she lost without yet knowing how to return. When a relationship ends or shifts, there's usually a delayed emotional response. At first, there's relief, freedom, or distraction. But once the noise fades, the memories start to surface. The small moments, the emotional safety, the way she felt around you, silence allows her to revisit those experiences internally without external influence. She may be replaying conversations, questioning decisions, and wondering if pulling away was the right choice. But processing doesn't happen on a schedule. It takes time for emotion to catch up with logic. And during that time, reaching out feels premature. She wants clarity before action, and silence gives her the room to search for. This is why rushing her or forcing communication often backfires. It interrupts the process, it turns reflection into defense. Instead of thinking about what she feels, she has to think about how to respond to you. Silence keeps the focus inward. She may also be testing her own independence. After pulling away, she wants to know if she can truly move on, or if your absence feels heavier than expected. That emotional check only works when there's real space. Your silence provides that. As days or weeks pass, the absence becomes noticeable. Not dramatic, just present. And that presence of absence brings clarity. She either realizes she misses you enough to act, or she accepts the loss fully. Both outcomes are honest. Your role during this time is not to guide her through the process. It's to respect it while protecting yourself. When you stay silent, you allow her to complete her emotional cycle without interference. If she reaches out, it's because she's processed enough to choose connection again. If she doesn't, you didn't lose an opportunity. You avoided chasing someone who wasn't ready. Silence doesn't slow things down, it allows emotions to catch up to reality. And when they do, truth always surfaces. When she stays quiet, even though she wants you back, what she's really waiting for is emotional safety. Wanting someone and feeling safe enough to return to them are two very different things. Desire alone isn't enough. She needs to feel that reaching out won't cost her dignity, reopen old wounds, or place her in a weaker position emotionally. Silence plays a bigger role here than most people realize. When you don't chase, accuse, or pressure her, you're not creating distance, you're removing threat. You're showing that you're emotionally regulated, not reactive, and not waiting to unload unresolved emotions the moment she speaks. That calm presence matters more than words ever could. Many women hesitate to reach out because they fear what they'll be met with. Will there be guilt, anger, emotional dumping? Will old arguments resurface immediately? If she senses emotional volatility, even strong desire won't be enough to make her step forward. Silence reassures her that the emotional environment is stable. By staying grounded, you signal that you can handle uncertainty without collapsing, that you won't punish her for pulling away, that you won't try to reclaim control through emotional pressure. This creates a sense of safety, not comfort, but the stability. Safety doesn't mean guaranteed outcomes. It means she feels free to choose without fear of consequences. When a woman feels free, her decisions become honest. She's not acting out of guilt or obligation. She's acting because she wants to. At the same time, silence protects you. You're not exposing yourself emotionally to someone who hasn't yet chosen to meet you halfway. You're not over investing before effort is returned. That balance keeps the dynamic healthy if reconnection does happen. This is where many men misunderstand patience. They think waiting means weakness. In reality, waiting with self respect is strength. You're not waiting for her, you're waiting for clarity. And clarity requires emotional safety on both sides. If she truly wants you back, your calm silence makes it easier for her to return without fear. If she doesn't, silence prevents you from chasing a version of her that only exists in your hope. Either way, you remain centered because real connection doesn't come from pressure, it comes from safety, choice, and mutual willingness.